Assistant Fire Chief Hunter Hackbarth, and we're going to lead out with the Assistant Chief, and then we will go to our Police Chief, Todd Chamberlain. But Assistant Chief Hackbarth, if you would like to begin, please do.
Sure. Is my presentation being shared with you, or do I need to share it?
Stephanie, what is your pleasure?
Oh, you can share your presentation. You have all the permissions. So feel free.
Let's see what happens.
And we see your presentation. Thank you.
Outstanding.
Also, we are
Okay.
recording. I just wanted to let everybody know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I appreciate this opportunity to get to present a little bit about Aurora Fire Rescue to the commission. So Aurora Fire Rescue, we're committed to compassionate care. Sorry about that. I'm a little aggressive with my slideshow tonight. We'll touch briefly on our history and kind of talk about where we're at right now. The original Fletcher Volunteer Fire Department was formed in 1902. 1951 was when we brought on our first paid member. Some of the other big benchmarks for us, Local 1290, the firefighters local, 1957. 1977 is when we put our first paramedics on the street. So that was a huge move for us. 1980, our first hazmat team, and in 1993, the technical rescue team was put in service. 2018, Station 15 opened, and since then we've opened Station 16 out by the Gaylord and Station 17 out by First and Powhatan. So a little bit more of some eastern coverage. And then in 2020, we were awarded an ISO Class 1 rating, which was great for the fire department and our community. So in 2024, under the chief's guidance, fire chief's guidance, we went through an exercise to really revisit our mission, vision, and values. And it used to be provide exceptional service to the community by well-trained professionals. And we've moved to positively impact the safety, well-being, and sense of security for our community by providing expert, quality, human-centered care, both fire, emergency medical services, no matter what care or service we're providing, we want it to be human-centered service. With our vision is to lead the nation in fire, rescue, and emergency services through our culture of excellence, investment in our members, and connection with our community. We'll never settle for mediocrity, but always strive for perfection. So we will continually push to be a better fire department, better people, a better organization. We stayed with the core 4 values, but we did put our little spin on the core 4 values. So respect, we value others, honor our cultures, and appreciate our differences. Talk about our integrity being paramount. We deal honestly with everyone and deliberate in our decisions and actions, and hold ourselves accountable to the community and especially to one another. Our professionalism, we want to work with pride and enthusiasm to master our craft with dedication to the community and each other. And that great level of customer service by providing service that exceeds the expectations of our community by solving problems and delivering excellent care with empathy and kindness. This exercise was with our firefighters. So this wasn't something the administrative staff sat up here in the office on the 4th floor and developed. This came from the line firefighters. So we're really proud that they built out their mission, vision, values. And then again, we still want to stay tied to the city's core 4. So our big 3 sections are community operations, which is what people see every day. That's us out doing fire and emergency services. That's our largest section. They direct medical equipment purchases, medical protocols, hiring, quality improvement, training, technology, and overall service to the community. Community risk reduction is our plans, Prevention, Inspections, and Investigations Division or section. And then Member Services is our training division. They develop department professional standards and provide employee support through recruitment, training, and health and safety strategies. They provide the training to our people. You've seen some initiatives lately on the news where we're really pushing the cancer initiative. We got a grant recently that allowed us to do LifeScan cancer screenings and medical physicals on all 460 members. We've also moved to a single layer gear, which is a lighter weight gear than our bunker gear. Our bunker gear actually has PFAS in it. So when you get hot at a fire, the gear actually releases PFAS into the firefighter. So we've purchased single layer gear, which allows our firefighters to wear that on extrications, car wrecks, and medical calls. And that keeps them out of their bunkers a little bit more. You can see the overall city general fund appropriations for 2025. It was $541.6 million, of which we are $93 million. And out of that $93 million, 87% is spent on personnel services, so pay and benefits. The calls for service 2024, 47,406, and you can see the responses by firehouse. We're going to talk briefly in a minute here about we did some right sizing of our service. So we were sending a fire truck. If you called 911, we sent a fire truck. It didn't matter if you needed, you had an infection in your finger from 2 weeks ago, or you were having a heart attack, we were sending a fire truck and an ambulance. And what we've done is through a collaborative effort with Falk Ambulance and Aurora 911, we go through a screening process, and when it's deemed a low acuity call, an ambulance goes by themselves. That took 10,000 calls off of our run total between 2023 and 2024. It allowed us, we were on the verge of adding a second engine company. So 3 fire apparatus, heavy fire apparatus at Station 2 to manage the calls. And what that allowed us to do by that change, because the biggest change in response is the biggest use of biggest call volume for basic life support or low acuity calls is really that Colfax corridor. And that's where we saw the reduction is up in Northwest Aurora or original Aurora. That was a big improvement for us. Currently, we stand at 17 firehouses. You can see the map. 17 engines, so trucks with fire hose, water pumps, 6 ladder trucks, 4 battalion chiefs. We have daytime peak hour medical support units, so a 2-person paramedic rescue squad. And we're currently staffed with 460 firefighters and paramedics. And then we are currently looking at, as this community grows, how do we provide those services and how do we expand into the Aurora Highlands, Blackstone, Butterfield trails, and then moving out east when we start seeing growth east of the Highlands, moving out towards the Colorado spaceport. So trying to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the community as it is now, but also trying to look long range for where we're going in the next 25 years. Technical rescue team, they run out of fire station number 5. So it's engine 5, ladder 5, and they have a heavy rescue vehicle. We always have 6 hazmat technicians on duty every day, and they can respond via the heavy rescue, a trench shoring vehicle. We have 1 light water rescue boat, and they do everything from heavy extrications and trench rescues to industrial accidents. Our hazmat team runs out of firehouse number 2, where we have engine 2 and ladder 2, and then the hazmat vehicle, which you can see, that's our new hazmat vehicle. We always have 6 technician level hazmat members on duty. And they are running calls citywide. We just recently did a metro regional drill with the federal government to kind of talk through some hazmat scenarios. They're one of the best equipped and best equipped and trained hazmat teams in the region. We're very proud of that. Wildland, so you all were just talking about wildland fires and wildland urban interface. So we have kind of a split team. We have a city wildland program and then a deployable wildland program. Our wildland stations are Station 13, where the wildland team responds from in Saddle Rock. And then Station 8 across from the city building is also designated as a wildland station. We have 1 Type 3 engine, so it's kind of in between a small brush truck, pickup truck type grass rig, and then a large pumper. So a Type 3 brush truck, 4 Type 6 pickup style brush trucks. We have a 4x4 wildland engine, and we have a 1 tender or water truck tanker, they used to be called in the old days, out at Station 15. Our wildland deployable team also works with our water department to help protect our water infrastructure. So we work really well with Christian Lurch out at Aurora Water OEM to make sure any fire that drops within really 25, 30 miles of any water property that we have in the mountains, we are engaged with that jurisdiction to make sure that we don't need to respond out there to help protect our resources. And that would be a part of our deployable team. We also just had a portion of that team come back from Montana. So we've been to Montana this year. We've been to the Western Slope this year. We've been out on our watershed this year doing some work. So we're known nationwide as a top-notch, top-tier wildland program. Strategic planning, we are in the process of working through our 2025 strategic plan in concert with the City of Aurora's strategic plan. We're also working on becoming reaccredited. I think Chief said there's 255 talking points that we have to answer 4-part questions for. We are in the middle of that process right now, and our staff is very engaged. But we are very intentional under Chief Otten to make sure we have continuous process improvement. So always looking at ourselves, always getting better. Like I said, we're in concert with the City of Aurora's strategic planning to make sure we're not out of alignment. We want to establish a roadmap for success to keep us moving forward. Aurora's needs are changing and we have to evolve. So new and current technology, some of our biggest things are electric vehicles, electric power walls in houses, electric generation equipment at houses, and then planning. As you start looking at the new housing developments or neighborhoods, houses are getting tighter and getting taller. So how do we access these neighborhoods? Are our ladder trucks going to be able to get in there? Are we going to be able to get multiple fire trucks in there? And are we able to carry the ladders we need to access these buildings if we can't get the ladder trucks in there? So we're very attentive. I'm very lucky to get to work with Mike Dean from Life Safety Buildings. We are very attentive to the work that you all are doing. Just trying to make sure that we plan ahead as the community grows and changes, that we're adapting with it instead of just trying to make what we're doing now fit into where we're going. So we're also being progressive on the medical side with a community health paramedic that's working on prevention programs. And we're also reinstituting kind of like a phone doctor through Aurora 911, where calls will be able to be referred over to a doctor line to provide some health care or health management without necessarily sending out an ambulance or a fire truck. So we had that program in 2024. Some funding changed and we're moving back towards that, hopefully by 2026. I talked a little bit about right response. Low acuity calls will either be handled by the on-call doctor line that says nurses. That was the last system. or we're sending out basic life support EMT ambulances through Falk Ambulance on these low acuity calls. If they get there and it's something more significant, then Aurora Fire Truck immediately responds to assist them, as all our fire trucks are paramedic level care. We're trying to use national recognized best practices. We want to be safer for our crews in the community, but we also want to make sure that we're going to the right calls with the right equipment. Our oath to you will always support the Constitution and laws of the U.S., state of Colorado, charter and ordinances of the city of Aurora. We'll perform our duties as firefighters to the best of our ability. We'll be ready at all times to provide assistance and comfort to all in need, disregarding our own feelings and preferences without prejudice and favoritism, and placing the safety of others before our own. We are a very aggressive fire department when it comes to our firefighting, our search and rescue. We place the safety of others before our own. That is of the utmost importance to us, and we will at all times conduct ourselves in an honorable manner. So thank you very much. If you haven't had the pleasure of meeting Chief Otten, this is Chief Otten. He's been with us. He's now on his 2 years, 5 months, and 30 years in the fire service. He was the past fire chief at Henrico County, Virginia. Outstanding fire chief, and I am honored and appreciative for the opportunity to work for him. So that's it for me.
Perfect.
What questions can I answer for you?
Commissioners, do you have questions for the assistant chief? I'll go ahead and start. Assistant Chief Hackbarth, it is my understanding that you served on AFR before it was AFR, and that you have returned to Aurora. What led you back to Aurora, and what are 2 significant things that you have seen change from the time you left until the time you returned?
The reason I came back was I was given the opportunity to meet with Chief Otten for coffee. And we were sitting together, and he wanted to understand why I left the organization. And we were actually sitting together at the Starbucks that used to be at Alameda and Crystal over in the town center. And this young man came in. You could tell he was bleeding from his head, and he was disheveled and out of sorts. And he walked up to the counter and he got a cup of coffee. And he came over and sat next to Chief Otten, and Chief Otten immediately stopped the conversation and turned to him and started trying to determine what was going on and how he could assist him, and then got an ambulance for him, walked him out to the ambulance, and did a patient care transfer. That is not something a fire chief does. That is not a fire chief thing. And to watch Chief Otten do that, I was like, I don't know what's happening right now. Watching the fire chief become 100% focused on helping this young man get through that moment, get him an ambulance, take care of him, and then walk out and do a transfer to the crew, made an impact on me. I met him for coffee again, and he eventually convinced me that he was going to have an assistant chief opening. We haven't had one since the 70s, and he asked me to come back to the organization and test for that spot to see if I could earn it, and I was lucky enough to earn the spot. The 2 biggest things that have happened is under the previous administration, the Emergency Medical Services Bureau got really downsized, almost to the point of elimination. And that created some issues for the fire department when you don't have great oversight and you have over 200 paramedics. You need to have great oversight of all your people and to make sure the education is there and the quality assurance is there and the remedial education is there and the certification management. Chief Otten has brought that EMS Bureau back. And we have an outstanding mix of civilian. We have a PA on our staff that does education, physician assistant. We brought in a system analyst to do our quality assurance, and Sarah Myers is amazing. We have Sarah Racine and Sarah Myers. We are very blessed to have some outstanding people who have come in and really embraced emergency medical services. That's what 60-ish% of our calls are, and we should be great at it. The other thing I'm sorry, go ahead.
Commissioner Bengta?
Well, he can finish. Go ahead. The other thing.
Okay. And the other thing is a focus back on our leadership training. So under the previous administration, all acting officer development had been eliminated. All officer development programs had been eliminated. All acting engineer programs had been eliminated. So we had a 5-year gap where there was no education for the people that were riding in the officer seat, making decisions every day on a fire truck. And Chief Otten, with working with member services, our training division has brought that development class back, all of them. And we're getting back on, we're actually going backwards 5 years so that we can move forwards, making sure our officers are well-trained and knowledgeable on what they're supposed to do when they ride in that right front seat.
Commissioner Bengta, do you have a question?
I don't really have a question. I just have a thank you and just to commend them. You know, my husband passed 2 years ago, but I'm sure my address was among the frequent flyer address. He went into cardiac arrest 11 times. You guys are amazing. You're professional, and I can't speak highly enough of the people that, you know, it seemed like I had a lot of them from 7 and 9 at my home, and I just want to thank you and thank you all for the professionalism, you know. So anyway, it was over the course of probably 4 or 5 years that I saw you all. It wasn't like it was all in 1 month, but it seemed like it was a monthly occurrence that you were here.
I'm sorry to hear about your loss. I hope that all of your experiences with Aurora Fire Rescue were very positive and very professional. We take our medicine very serious. We're fortunate, and now under this process of increasing our education, I hope we're even better moving forward.
They were amazing. That's why I'm making the comment. I'm very impressed. So thank you.
Other commissioners, questions?
Vice Chair Hogan.
Yes. Go ahead.
I wanted to first of all thank you so much for being with us this evening. It's absolutely a pleasure to have you here to have this discussion, and obviously to have you back with the department. So thank you for entertaining the idea of coming back, and I've had the opportunity to meet Chief Otten a few times and serve on his interview committee as well. So I think we made the right choice there. I wanted to ask a question more specifically as it relates to kind of what we do. What are the metrics that you guys look at? Is it purely density based? I know that we have prescriptions in code for expanding service, but in thinking about what metrics do you guys kind of evaluate internally to say, you know, Northeast Aurora now pushing Northeast, our growth and development up there, we're running at response times of over 10 minutes or what? Could you kind of help us look from your perspective, I guess, at how you look at what we do when we're looking at these new multifamily projects and the expansion of Aurora?
Absolutely. So we look at several different factors when we start looking at triggering, and through the work with life safety planning, Mike Dean, and through the planning commission, when things come through and we start moving on a development, the developers usually give us a temporary fire station site and a permanent fire station site. They're not always used, but those spots are designated for the fire department for building. We look at call volume. So how many calls are we getting out in the area? What are our response times? When you look at Aurora Highlands, they're in that 10-12 minute mark. But now that we have a higher population density, you're starting to see the call volume go up. And then we also look at commercial square footage, because that's also important to us, is how many millions of square feet of commercial are going in concert with the rooftops. We're lucky in the fact that the city for quite a while now has kind of been doing that, you do a development, you build one next to it, you build one next to it, you build one next to it, and that allows us, you know, Highlands is being served by Station 12 off of Tower and 32nd and by Firehouse number 16 up by the Gaylord. Where it gets challenging for us is like Cottonwood Creek, and I think Planning Commission and is starting to look at Cottonwood Creek. And you look at that, and it's 3 miles from the closest firehouse and 12 minutes from the closest ladder truck. So it's 6 minutes from the closest engine and 12 minutes from the closest ladder truck. And you start looking at the Colorado Spaceport, and when development starts out there, once that water line's hooked up in the warehouses or whatever goes out there, our closest firehouse is First and Powhatan. It's probably a 16-minute or more response time for one fire truck. So this becomes a more complex equation when you start looking at distance. But it's hard to then say, okay, we're going to open a new firehouse. You have a building, a fire truck, and 17 employees for an area that might, you know, do a call a day or a call every other day until it becomes densely populated. So it's finding that sweet spot of being very aware of the city's budget and that we're just a piece of the budget, but also knowing that when you start getting into some of the developments farther out, we have to be cognizant that how long is it going to take for us to get fire trucks there? That creates conversations with Bennett Fire, and up north, we have an auto aid agreement with South Adams County Fire. Out southeast, we have an auto aid agreement with South Metro Fire. So it's not just us going, well, you should give us a bunch of fire trucks and firehouses. We realize that we're a part of the city puzzle, and we need to work with our neighbors to try to figure out how to help each other as we grow and then meet the triggers for fire stations. The interesting part is just with the new urban standards, the street standards, issue that we're seeing that you may have heard about is we are seeing, because of the economy and the cost of housing in this metro area, you're seeing multiple family members or multiple families living in a house or an apartment. And where it becomes problematic is the amount of cars. So we have an brand new apartment complex on the northwest corner of Airport and Colfax. They fill up the fire lanes almost every night because in a normal time under normal building code, they would have plenty of parking spots. But when you have 4 or 5 families living in an apartment, all of a sudden there's not enough parking, which now we're having access issues. Even my neighborhood, I live in Northwest Aurora. We have a house on any given night. There's 15 cars in the driveway, in front of the house, in the street, where before you had great passage. Now it's getting tighter. And then you get into urban street standards where the roads are narrower. Some of the developments south of Gaylord, tighter roads, but you have a lot of cars parking. And then you look at they're calling them the 4 and 6 packs, the mini cul-de-sacs with the 3-story houses. Awesome concept, great idea, but it does create some access issues for us because both sides of the feeder streets have cars. And then we got to try to make the tight turns into these either mini cul-de-sacs or alleyways. So they're all within code, they're all within standard, but we then have to look at the size of our fire trucks. Are they too long, too wide, too tall? And then our ladder packages, right? Are our ladders long enough now to get to 3-story single-family residentials? Are our hose loads long enough to make it down a 200-foot mini cul-de-sac and then up into a 3-story house? So everything is an opportunity for us to look at how do we adapt to the growth of Aurora, because it's not just Aurora, it's everywhere. So we're very cognizant of, as we grow, how do we respond to it?
Great. Thank you so much. Those were excellent points, I think, for us as we're looking at some of these developments that we might feel are underparked, some things that we may not have thought about before. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner
Absolutely.
Banco, you have just a literal minute because we want to hear from our police chief as well. Do you have one more question?
Oh gosh, and I have 3 questions. All right, so just really quick, and maybe you can just email back or something, down the road. Number one, I know South Metro is now carrying blood. Is that in the future of Aurora? I'm going to throw out all 3 questions. You can pick which one. I know
Sure.
that when Murphy Creek was 18 minutes away, we couldn't get homeowners insurance for the people. I know you mentioned that we now have something that's 17 minutes away. As a realtor, that's very concerning to me. If we can't get homeowners insurance, we can't sell it. And then I know the state legislature this last session passed infill units that can be 5-story, no elevator, walk up. You're talking about hose power to get to the 3rd floor of a house. What about these 5-story infills? So I guess maybe if you want to respond with an email or something, that's fine.
And I can hit them super quick in under 30 seconds. Blood program, yes, we're exploring it. Colorado Springs does it, South Metro does it. We're looking at it. The 5-story building, single entrance, the fire chiefs and the police chiefs in the state were against it. It still made it through. We're super concerned about having only one access and egress path. We really wanted 2. It's the safest for the firefighters and the citizens. But we will navigate that as those buildings are constructed and work on our fire safety programs within them. And then the other one was
17 minutes and
17.
Insurance.
Yep. And really our biggest issue right now is we're doing okay on our response times. That isn't the issue. It's working with the HOAs on mitigation of open spaces, because some of them out southeast are running into wildland urban interface questions from the insurance company, because the HOAs want the wild green space, but it's considered a hazard to the homeowner. So we are actively, our wildland team and inspections bureau actively works with the HOAs when there's a question from the insurance company about insurance coverage.
Thank you.
Yep, you're
Good
very
job.
welcome.
You had a minute to win it. Well, thank you again on behalf of all of us on the Planning Commission, as well as our wonderful planning staff. That was excellent and always good to hear. Next up is Chief Todd Chamberlain, who has been with us for just almost a year, if not just a few days over a year. So Chief Chamberlain, take it away.
All right, Will, can you guys all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I think the big thing about this discussion, I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to talk with everybody. This means a lot because I think there is, without question, a correlation between what the Planning Commission does and what law enforcement brings into that. There is a direct impact. When you think as planners, again, you're looking at growth, you're looking at infrastructure, you're looking at livability, and that really relates to the overall health of law enforcement. How are they performing? How is the community perceived? How do people feel comfortable coming into that community to reside? How do they feel comfortable about coming into the community to establish a business? A lot of that is based upon the safety of that community or the perception of that community. And so there is without question a correlation between planning and between law enforcement. And I'm going to give you just a brief rundown. I know we're kind of short on time, but I'm going to go through this and see what we can get. I can't get to the next slide here. So again, our mission, you saw the fire department's mission. Again, I think both of us are very the same. Our mission is to serve others, and that's what we do. I think that's why we put on these uniforms and we're committed to the goals. Again, I've been involved in law enforcement for coming up on 40 years. I've had the opportunity to work in other department, other agencies, both as a chief position as well as leadership position, and also as a patrol officer. And so bringing that wealth of knowledge into an organization that I truly believe in has been an absolute gift. And our goal, and my goal, is to make sure that this community is safe. And how we do that is with our vision. And my vision is very simple. I keep it very, very down to the bones. And it really is about maintaining social order. It's about ensuring that our individuals who reside and work in around Aurora are not victimized. And if someone is victimized, we make sure that we hold those individuals who do the victimization accountable. That is really the goal. That's what we focus on. The aspects of what we do and who we are and what we look at our crime, we look at community organizational sustainability, and we look at the wellness of our personnel and the wellness of our organization as a whole. we really focus on, and this is something that's really important to me, we focus on evidence-based policing. I am a big believer in data and technology. And again, I really do not want to waste the limited resources that I have. And so a lot of what we have done over this past year is to do an organizational transformation of what this organization is. And a lot of that has been founded on using new opportunities in technology and data. New tools that might have not have been considered a year ago are now becoming commonplace. And the foundation of that is what's known as evidence-based policing. And that's where we look at what we are doing, where we are doing it, who we are doing it to, and then saying, are our actions, are our activities having an impact on what we are trying to address? And the only way we can measure that, it's not just through luck and saying, it looks better. We want to actually be able to measure it and see if we see decreases in crime, decreases in victimization, decreases in individuals being victimized. How is an area thriving or is it not thriving based upon what we did or what we didn't do in there? I'm also a big proponent, and this department is founded right now on constitutional-based policing. Again, when you look at constitutional policing, what does that really mean? If you look at the first three articles in the Constitution of the United States, it focuses on legislation, judicial, and also the administrative aspect of what we do and how we do it. And then if you look at the amendments, the Bill of Rights, again, you look at the First Amendment, freedom of speech, you look at the second, you look at the third, the fourth. The fourth is specifically really intense related to us, and that is search and seizure. It's search and seizure reflects not only in a person's home, but it reflects on how we go about seizing a human, seizing a person, searching a person, getting involved in the use of force. All of those attributes, all of those aspects relate towards what we do in constitutional policing. I think, as you know as well, we are under a consent decree. I want to say that without question right now, we have completely changed and modified what that perspective of the consent decree means to this department. Through the introduction of the analytics, through the increasing of technology, through the understanding of our data that we capture. Before, it was really hard to articulate out what this department did and how they did it and who they did it to. Since that time, we have without question been able to become not only the standard for Colorado, but the standard for across the United States of 18,000 other police departments. The technology, the advancements that we have, the data collection points that we have, I can guarantee you, because I've been around many, many agencies across the nation, there are very few right now that have the capabilities, the understanding, and the ability to do biopsies and audits on what their personnel are doing, how they are doing it, and really how is that impacting crime and how is that impacting the health of the community. As you guys all know, and you know this well, we are a full service agency, which means we are on 24/7, 365. Right now, presently, we have a total of 964 employees. We are authorized for 748 of our personnel as far as sworn and roughly around 200 in non-sworn positions and support. We are not at 748. As a matter of fact, I believe by January of this year, for the first time in many, many years, we will actually be at a full contingent of staffing personnel. We are running academies where a few years ago we might have 5 people in academy. As of late, we have been able to run basically 3 academies, and we are usually stacked at about 35 individuals, recruits going through that academy. Plus, we are also focused on laterals, bringing other officers who are already certified in the post system in Colorado. And we have modified, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. We have 5 different divisions. We have patrol, investigation, special operations, training, and business services. Specialized units. Again, we are a full SWAT team, a full canine. We focus heavily on traffic. That is one of the most compelling issues, I think, that right now we are contending with based upon the tragedies that we have had. So we are focused on that. We also have task forces, which focus on the violent crime, the activity that is occurring in and around Aurora. And then we also support our schools. We have a crisis response team that deals with mental health issues. And again, this is when I talk about a full service police department, that is an example of a full service where it doesn't matter if it's a barricade. It doesn't matter if it's somebody who's going through a mental health crisis. It doesn't matter if it's somebody who's experiencing homelessness, somebody who has been victimized, who need victim services. Within the Aurora Police Department, there is resources, there are personnel to address those concerns and put things on a better trajectory. Our support and our civilians are just as important as our sworn. Again, they fill up many, many areas. Like I mentioned, we have victim services, we have a crime lab, crime scene investigation, property evidence, and impound. Our goal, like I mentioned, is continue to staff our department. This relates directly in towards budgeting issues because over the past 4 or 5 years, there has been a number of vacancy spots. With those vacant spots came vacancy savings, which means that the money not spent on the actual body was being able to be spent somewhere else. As we are getting more people into the positions of being police officers, those vacancy savings are decreasing. So we have to be much wiser with how we allocate our funds, how we allocate our money, what we do with the budget that we do have, and making sure that we still perform our task as we increase our staffing. Like I mentioned, we have 3 base academies that are held every year. We have a fast track academy, which we just started. It's a new concept in law enforcement, but basically allows somebody who is certified within the state or outside of the state, instead of having to go through an entire complete academy, if they have a certificate of police officer standards and training, we are able to provide them a much quicker resource, get them through and get them out on the streets. The one thing that I really want to stress about this is that this is not about lowering the standards. We are not doing that in any way whatsoever. We are actually making sure that our standards are at a level that is consistent with the rest of the nation. But we are, without question, setting it up and doing much more proactive outreach. And I think, without question, based upon how this organization is performing right now, we are getting many individuals interested in coming to this organization that, quite frankly, a while ago would not have been. So that has been very, very successful. We are not having the same attrition rate that we had before as far as people leaving. Actually, we have slowed down now. We don't look at any major drop-offs of our person who are leaving other than just the normal attrition rates through retirement or injured on duty or something like that. But we are really maintaining and holding our personnel that we have. Calls per service on a monthly average, again, we focus roughly around 28,730 calls per service that originate out of Aurora 911. Again, our contacts, which are our proactive aspects, that is increasing as well. We are roughly at about 2,170 proactive, which means traffic stops, hotspot policing, proactive policing. And that is a huge number because, again, changing that culture, that mentality that we are not just here to respond to calls for service, but we are here actually, excuse me, I got to turn. But we are here to make sure that we are being proactive in our enforcement. And so these calls reflect that. Our crime on a whole, how we focus on it, it's what known as near term, midterm, and long term. Near term is focusing on the actual crime itself. And so with analytics, we understand what crime is occurring, how it's occurring. And then we put our resources to focus on that. And then we measure that impact. And that comes in a lot of different ways. It just doesn't come through enforcement. It also comes through contact with the community, getting out on foot beats, traffic citations, whatever we need to do. A midterm approach focuses on looking at the places. So looking at the locations, the venues, the apartment complexes, the homes, the whatever it is, why is that the core root of the problem? Why do we see crime around there? And what impact can we have about changing behaviors of the incidences and the behavior of the individuals and the behavior of the actual venue itself to stop that crime? Another aspect that we focus on, again, is the long term, which is the intervention prevention piece, which I'm going to speak to you about in a second. So when we focus on crime, again, we look at crime, locations, date, time, suspect, victims, patterns, everything else that you could imagine. We analyze it, we look at it. What we hope to get out of that is we hope to get stops, contacts, which come through field interview cards, directed patrol, where officers, you can see on the map, officers will identify hotspots. It'll be geospatial, so we'll have a clear understanding of who's being victimized, who are the ones doing the victimization, what times is it occurring, what days of the week is it occurring, how many calls for service. And again, this is a proactive approach, which really changed the dynamics of not just speculating or doing our resource deployment based on anecdotal information, but instead doing it in a clear and concise manner. I actually wanted to show you what the benefits have been out of that. So right now, we are down in all of our crime categories, to be very honest. Year to date, our crime reduction, we have a 29.3% reduction in crime. Overall, murders, we are down 13. We are down percentage-wise. We are down 8 in sexual assaults. We're down 11 in aggravated assaults. Robberies, we are down in 35. Burglary, we're down 33%. Motor vehicle theft, and I'll tell you why we are down so much compared to the prior year of 24. We're down 41%. And then larcenies or shoplifts, we're down 14%. When you look at these numbers, you think, okay, but they're just numbers, but what do they really mean? Well, what they mean is this year to date, we have had approximately 2,100 individuals, human beings, that have not been victimized, that would have been victimized last year. And so 2,100 people in the city of Aurora have not had their car stolen, have not been murdered, have not had aggravated assaults performed on them, have not had their home burglarized. And that is a huge thing that we are really happy and striving, and we will continue. With that also, though, comes the modifications. Well, why is this happening? Why is the crime trend going down? And again, here's the reason. The crime trend's going down because our arrests are going up. Our officers feel empowered to make arrests. It's like I said in our mission, we want to make sure people don't get victimized, but also to make sure that the ones who do victimize someone are held accountable. And so our arrests are going up. At the same time, our calls for service are going down. I also want to throw in here as well, our officers are doing the right things. They are doing the ethical things, the moral things, and the proper things, because our use of forces are also down and our personnel complaints are also down. And so again, when you see these trajectory of things changing, you know that you have an organization that is moving in the right direction. I wanted to give you a breakdown real quick because this is very important considering this agency is under a consent decree. But it doesn't matter whether it's a consent decree or not. We are still very focused and cognizant about what is occurring and how our officers are doing the work. It's not just about getting the crime reduction. It's about making sure that we're doing it right. And so again, when you look at our use of forces, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, they all have different levels. We are down across the board in all of those categories from 24 to 25. The only reason that you see an uptick in tier 2, which is where an officer made contact, is because we are doing a pit maneuver now, which is a controlled contact between a police vehicle and a stolen vehicle, and that's counted in the use of forces. But overall, if that was removed, we would be down in that category too. So the actual contact of a human officer towards another human on all our use of forces is down, and that's an astounding thing considering that arrests are up and crime is down. That usually you don't see that correlation. Also, I wanted to throw something out here too. A lot of people look at Aurora, look at law enforcement, and think, oh, you guys must be getting in gun battles all the time, or shootings, or bad shootings. That's a false narrative. That is not reality. This year to date, we've had 3 officer-involved shootings. Out of the 210,280 calls for service, that comes out to a 0.00001%. And so again, that is a very small number compared to the number of police contacts, compared to the number of use of forces, and compared to the number of calls for service. We changed our policy on March the 5th. I've modified many policies within this organization over my time here. This was one of them. What I found out was we had officers who would get behind a stolen car. They would run that car, verify it was stolen, and the car, as they turned on their lights, the car would simply drive away. I didn't understand how it became normalized for having a person go into your driveway or to your garage, steal a car, and there was no penalty for that. So we modified our pursuit policy. We made sure that it was clear, it was concise, and it was well done. And we went from last year, where there was a total of 42 pursuits, to this year to date, we are 132. We have apprehended 65 individuals that have been involved in stealing vehicles, again, which is a felony offense in the state of Colorado. And then we've had 61 escape. But I want to make sure very clear that that escape is nothing to be ashamed of. That escape shows that our officers have discontinued pursuits. They have changed the patterns of how they have done their pursuits, making sure that the safety of the community, it always comes before trying to stop somebody from hurting somebody else. It's really a challenge to do because we cannot just let people run free. But we also know that we don't want to make a situation where an individual drives so recklessly, so poorly, that the impact of a stolen car would be far outweighed if there was a collision or an accident or a loss of an innocent life. So as you look at this, again, end pursuits, why pursuits, how they end, initiating officers, and in 30 of those pursuits, we had the pit maneuver, which I also talked about how it correlates to the use of force on that one uptick. We've had 26 of them. We've had 20 incidences where officers or supervisors have terminated the pursuit because they felt it was getting unsafe. 13 vehicles that have been involved in collisions or part of the pit. We've also had suspect vehicles have been 8 that have been disabled. You also see escapes, voluntary stop of suspects. And so we keep track of every single thing. Now, who are this when you think of risk versus rewards on these pursuits? I wanted to give you a little bit on that. Again, so you have 89 arrests. You had arrestees with criminal histories. Out of those 89, 71 had that. We've had active warrants. We've had everything from narcotics to violent crimes. We even had a warrant for an individual who had killed a 7-year-old. So he was taken into custody. And then we also have the majority of the individuals that we have in these stolen cars are on probation or parole. We've gotten 17 handguns out of these pursuits. And then also we've had summonses and parties that were on parole. The big part of this that I hope comes clear is that these individuals were not just stealing these cars to go from point A to point B. I'm going to go take a car to get to a job. These individuals are using these stolen cars to commit more crime, to victimize more people. And it's really amazing because now we're actually hearing on the street where a lot of people will not come in. We have had a major decrease in our stolen vehicles. It's like as you could see on that report, it's actually dropped almost 250 vehicles percent wise. And that is a absolutely huge number. And the reason that is because just like anybody else, there's gossip, there's communication amongst different groups that are involved in the same activities. And those groups right now know not to come to Aurora to victimize other people. Besides this,
we are virtually out of time, and I do want to give the commissioners a few minutes to ask you questions. So you have a choice here. We can have you complete your presentation, and if you would be so kind as to come back at our next study session for about 10 minutes to answer some questions, or we can pause your presentation here, allow us to ask a few questions on what you've presented before, and then continue your presentation, because all of this information has been excellent and we don't want to cut you short.
Yeah.
So the choice is yours. Would you
I'm going to go
prefer
through this last slide and then
pausing?
I'll answer questions and I'll be done, because I want to show not only the enforcement aspect, but we also have Aurora Save, which is preventative. And we go out and meet individuals that have a high propensity of being involved in crime, and we make custom notifications for them. We also have a huge part of our SRO program, which is identifying individuals, especially juveniles, that are involved in violent activity or the potential for getting involved in criminal or violent activity. And we have some amazing outreach groups that focus on them. So with that, I am going to go ahead and shut this down and answer any questions. Fire department always hogs up all the time. Unbelievable.
Awesome. All right. Commissioners, we've got about 6 minutes left to give you just a quick break between this and our regular meeting. Questions from the commissioners. I know that you saw lots of information.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's really a result of what has happened in Minnesota today, and that is, we go to the schools and we give the kids examples of what to do once the violence starts. But do we also do something in the schools with reference to identifying kids who have problems and talking to the teachers or the counselors to see if we can actually get to the kids before the violence starts?
We
That's my
absolutely do.
question.
Yeah, we have extensive outreach components. We have a great relationship with Aurora Public Schools as well as Cherry Creek, which we support both. And on both of those components, again, if there's a child that's having behavior problems, if there's a child that's on a trajectory, if there's any type of social media verbiage or anything that comes out, we will verify what that individual needs. We will make sure that it's stopped beforehand. But the trouble and the problem with so many of these incidences, again, it's very hard because many of the incidences that occur at schools are active shooters in overall. If they're not breaking laws beforehand, it's very hard to say, okay, we're going to stop this person or we're going to take this person into custody. It's really the challenge. But the one thing that I can guarantee everybody on this board is that we go to conclusion if we feel that there is anybody that has demonstrated or have written or have posted something that, hey, I'm going to come in tomorrow and I'm going to make a statement, we will go to conclusion to verify that is it a tangible, real threat, or is it something that is just somebody, imagining or dreaming about. And as far as the service to the students, again, we have major outreach that we do. We work with psychiatrists. We work with a myriad of different outreach components, the Operation Aurora Save, the call-ins. Those are the things that we focus on every single day.
Great, thank
Chairman
you.
Walls, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us, Chief Chamberlain. Quick question, as Aurora grows, not only in size, but also in density, do you find it helpful, the expansion of substations? Is that a tool or resource that you find that we should be looking at communities to expand greater across Aurora, or talk a little bit about their role kind of in what you're doing?
Absolutely. I am not a proponent of substations. I think they are an absolute drain on the organization as a whole. I think they are a Band-Aid to a bigger problem that we have, and that is effectively making sure that we have proper facilities. Right now, I'm going to be very open. The facilities for Aurora Police Department are inadequate. There is not one facility that Aurora Police Department has now that was ever originally established or made to be a police facility. Division 1 was a building that was attached with the military in 1950. Division 2, District 2, is an old bank building, which is constantly problematic as far as location and venue, where it's at, the infrastructure that supports it. District 3 is a collaboration of Aurora 911, police, and fire. It is not sustainable. It is already overcrowded from the time that it opened. When you talk about substations, the reason I have a problem with those is because they don't really solve the problem. They just give you a sense that, okay, we have something, but it's more than just the building. It's the staffing, it's the personnel. Right now, we need somebody up in we need a Division 4, a District 4. We need another venue. We need another station. Headquarters, again, was never meant to be the police headquarters. It was originally built as the jail. So again, that's the problem, is that right now we are a major city police department, and none of the infrastructure that we have was ever developed or made specifically to be a police facility. And that's why I'm very hesitant and leery of going down that road of Band-Aids in regards to substations, because substations, you lose the span of control, you lose the leadership, the oversight. I came from LAPD. One of the biggest corruption issues that I ever saw, the Rampart incident, came out of a substation. And that's because there was no oversight, there was no leadership, there was no infrastructure. So that's what I'm hoping that as a planning commission we look at. How can we do that? How can we achieve something different for this organization? And again, it won't be during our tenure, but I think strategically we have to look at what is going to change for this agency, because this is not a small police department. This is a major city police department. And I think a lot of people are stuck thinking, oh, this is good old Aurora from 20 years ago. Well, I think that we know that this is not the same Aurora from 20 years ago. And for me, coming from the outside, looking at it objectively, I see a lot of shortcuts that need to be improved. I see a lot of modifications that need to bring this agency and organization up to 21st century policing, and substations are not one of them.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's helpful.
Other questions from the commissioners? We've got time for one more.
I'll just say thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate all you're doing. Absolutely.
Thank you
And
very,
meeting.
very, very much, Chief Chamberlain and Assistant Chief Hackbarth. I know that we do this once a year. It's very intentional because we want to hear from you. If there are things that you believe that as a commission we can do to help, please don't hesitate. We are here for you as much as you have been here for us. So thank you again, commissioners. We will see you at 6:10 with Chairman Walls in the driver's chair. Thank you again, gentlemen.
Thank you.
If I-
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.